Well, you know, it's exciting when whether it's your first song or opening up a restaurant or your first book, there's just something so amazing about that experience. And my next guest has written her first book, and it's called Whiteout. I'm joined by the author, Kathleen Lee. Kathleen, welcome. Great to have you here.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
So first, but did you grow up writing at all, or is this something that happened just recently in life?
It's a much more recent thing. So I wrote this, I was in my 50s, and but I've been an avid reader all my life, and I got that from my mom. She instilled that in me. So
nice.
So yeah, but I've always thought I had a book in me, and I finally got around to doing it, which I'm very happy that I did.
So you had a book in you. So what was the inspiration then behind Whiteout?
So I was actually on a date many years ago, and the man said something, and I'm sorry, I don't even remember his name, but anyway,
it's okay.
Not my husband. He said,
well, as long as it's not your husband, then you're safe, Kathleen. Yeah.
But he said, you know, it must be really difficult being a single mother, and you know all that, and I'm like, well, I guess. I mean, it's not something new to me. I've grown into it, and I've coped, and I'm fine. But it got me thinking about what if someone was put in a situation where they were solely responsible for the care of a person with no background, no experience whatsoever, and what would that struggle be like?
Okay.
And that's where it was born from.
So that's the basis of the book. So
yes.
Tell me a little bit, we don't want to give away too much, but tell me a little bit about the storyline.
So the story is about two sisters that have grown up in a very tumultuous household, and the youngest one, Maggie, goes to Ottawa to go to school. They live in Brockville, but she comes to Ottawa, and then something horrific happens, and Maggie is thrust into a caregiver role, and with someone she loves very much, and so she has to struggle with that, and she loses a lot of her independence and freedom, and struggles with that as well. So yeah,
and it's a great perspective, because oftentimes people don't look at what the caregiver is going through.
Right.
Sometimes it can even be more difficult for the caregiver, depending on the type of situation.
Yeah.
So what was your process then of writing the book? Walk me through that.
So initially I had this idea that Maggie and Nika came from this very loving family, and I thought, oh, that's a little boring. It needs to be a little more conflicted. So it was not a great household. And so what I did was, I just sat down and thought I'd write, and I'm like, no, that's not going to work, because it's really hard.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Or we'd all be doing it. I'd have a book. Yeah.
So I ended up kind of laying out what I wanted to happen throughout the book with Maggie and with the other characters. And I actually do it from two perspectives. And I kept a spreadsheet, which I don't know how people wrote without spreadsheets before they were invented, but big help. And I wrote it a chapter at a time whenever I had some free time, because I was also working full-time, as I do now. And eventually I got a first draft. So that was
good for you.
A huge accomplishment.
Did you know the end before you started writing, or did it come to you?
I knew the end in a way, but the way it finally kind of manifested was quite organic as I wrote it. And so there's a bit of kind of plotting and what they call pantsing, you know, writing by the seat of your pants, or plotting. So there's a little bit of both in that,
You're self-published. Tell me the decision to self-publish.
So once I'd finished writing this, I tried the traditional route, and that's where you have to find an agent. Yeah. And that's a little soul-crushing.
It really is.
And lots of rejection.
I mean, you're not the only author to tell me that.
Yeah.
I mean, so many authors now just turn right away to self-publishing, because they say that unless you've already written 12 books, like they're not even interested in reading your draft.
Yes, exactly.
You know, which is too bad.
And a lot of times you don't even get a rejection. You just don't hear from them. Right. Or you might see a tweet that says, "Oh, my manuscript list is closed. Don't bother." And it's like, okay. So
did you have to research yourself then to figure out how you're going to go about self-publishing? Or
it was really interesting. I was traveling in England, and I met a woman there on my tour who knew someone in Montreal that did self-publishing. She helped helped authors self-publish. And I thought, so I got in touch with her. Her name is Carolyn Flower, and she's an author's coach, but she also helps with the whole Amazon publishing process. Right. And she was amazing. She really helped me understand the steps that are involved. She hooked me up with some great editors that's key to having that sort of thing. Like, you can't just go by your first draft. That's the story that you tell yourself, and then you need to clean it up. So she was really helpful with that. And then also with the artwork on the cover as well. So yeah, that worked out really well.
What about marketing, Kathleen? Because that's another challenge, right? Is okay, I wrote a book. Now, how do I tell everybody about it?
I don't know why everyone just doesn't know it's wonderful, but that's where I struggle the most. I don't have that kind of background at all. I worked in IT and admin all my life, so I'm still working that out. But there's a lot you can do with Amazon, and I try to do community events like this, like book signings.
Right.
There's a community newspaper that I've gotten into,
nice.
that sort of thing, and just word of mouth on social media as much as I can. I try to have a big presence on social media.
That is so incredibly important, no matter what type of artist you are in today's world. What about feedback? What kind of feedback are you getting?
The feedback has been very good. Yeah, lots of 5-star reviews, and not from people I know either, like people that I've never even met. So.
Wow!
I know, that's awesome.
No, but it's true, right? I mean, everyone, there's that perception of, oh, well, the 5-star reviews, if you're a restaurant or a writer or whatever, it's family and friends only.
Yeah.
But that's nice to hear.
So, but what really helps authors is if people do write reviews, because that raises your profile in social media and on things like Goodreads and on Amazon as well.
So I'm guessing that's where people go to get a copy, is Amazon?
Yeah, Amazon, or if you go to my website, I can also arrange, if it's in the Ottawa area, for home delivery. I have a stock of my own books as well. So
fantastic.
Either way, yeah.
Well, congratulations on this. I know how much hard work goes in. I mean, that's not a thin book, my friends. That's an incredible amount of work. You can find Kathleen all over social media, as she said, including LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, now called X, you name it, or KathleenLeeAuthor.com as well. We'll be back with more right after this.